The day begins like a controlled celebration built on confidence and rehearsed certainty. People arrive believing they are about to witness proof that danger can be measured, managed, and mastered. Security teams stand in clean lines wearing calm faces that hide long nights of preparation and pressure. Officials speak softly to one another, repeating plans that have already been memorized. The space feels polished and intentional, more like a showcase than a warning. The human stands among them unnoticed at first. She blends into the crowd without uniform or rank, watching everything with quiet attention. Her posture is relaxed, not careless, but deliberate, as if she understands the rhythm of moments before they arrive. She listens to the voices around her, noting the assumptions hidden in every confident statement. Everyone speaks as though the outcome is already decided. Lights reflect off reinforced walls and heavy doors that promise separation and safety. The audience leans forward, drawn by anticipation rather than fear. They expect noise, shouting, running, something dramatic enough to justify the build-up. Cameras adjust angles, ready to capture the instant when control is tested. No one considers stillness as an outcome. The human looks at the sealed doors longer than anyone else, not with excitement but with focus. She knows moments like this are shaped long before they begin, by choices made in silence, by methods never questioned, by whether respect was ever part of the process. Around her the air feels charged with certainty. People believe they understand what an apex predator is. They believe power always moves in one direction. They believe fear will be the lesson. Everyone remembers the human waits, not because she doubts what will happen, but because she knows the truth usually arrives quietly, right before everyone realizes they were wrong. The signal is given, and the room shifts from expectation to focus. Voices fall away as massive locks disengage. With a sound that vibrates through the floor, the reinforced doors begin to move, slow and heavy, as if resisting the moment themselves. Every person present feels the weight of what is about to be revealed. Heat spills from the containment space, carrying a sharp, unfamiliar scent. It is the smell of muscle and instinct, and something older than training. Lights flicker as power reroutes to emergency systems prepared for failure. No one breathes. Normally, the opening widens and a shape forms behind the rising haze. At first, it is only movement, too large, too deliberate to be mistaken for machinery. Then limbs emerge, strong and balanced, built for pursuit rather than defense. The predator steps forward with absolute confidence. Its presence dominates the space without effort, not wild, not frantic, but aware. Eyes scan the room, calculating distances, reactions, weaknesses. This is not a creature confused by freedom. This is a creature assessing a changed environment. Several guards step back despite their orders. Weapons rise, but hands tremble, betraying the gap between theory and reality. Training drains away in the face of something undeniably alive. Fear does not explode, it creeps. The audience feels it then. A collective understanding that no barrier truly prepares you for proximity. Some people realize they have misunderstood what control looks like. Others cling to procedures like lifelines. The predator lifts its head and inhales deeply. It tastes the air, separating threat from noise. Every movement is efficient, purposeful, restraints. Somewhere in the room, a camera operator forgets to record. A scientist whispers a curse under their breath, and the human remains where she is. She does not reach for protection. She does not step away. She watches the predator as it watches them, and that shared stillness, something important begins to unravel. The belief that this moment belongs to the people in charge. The silence stretches longer than anyone expected. It presses against the walls and settles into the nerves of every observer. People shift their weight, searching for comfort that does not arrive. What was supposed to be a controlled reveal now feels exposed, and fragile whispers begin, despite instructions to remain quiet. Some speak out of fear, others out of disbelief. The reality of the predator standing free forces thoughts to race faster than reason. A few audience members step backward, creating space that feels suddenly necessary. The guards tighten their formation. Though gaps appear between them, their movements lack the sharp confidence shown during drills. Sweat gathers beneath helmets and gloves. Eyes dart between the predator and command signals, waiting for permission to act. The predator notices everything. It tracks motion not as threat, but as information. Every retreating step, every raised weapon, every shallow breath is catalogued. This is not hunger driving it, but awareness. The human remains still. She feels the shift in the room, like a change in weather. Fear moving outward from the center, seeking somewhere to land. She understands that fear spreads faster than violence. Her calm becomes visible, not loud, not dramatic, but impossible to ignore. It stands in contrast to the restless energy around her. Some nearby notice and pause their retreat. Confused by her lack of reaction, the predator turns its head slightly, its attention narrowing. The room freezes again, as if holding a collective breath. People expect the moment to break into chaos. Instead, nothing happens. Seconds pass, heavy and unclaimed. The absence of violence feels louder than an attack would have. The human meets the predator's gaze, not challenging, not submissive, present. Those watching feel a strange discomfort because this was not part of the plan, because stillness was never rehearsed. The demonstration was meant to show dominance, yet now something else begins to surface. A quiet, unsettling question forming in the minds of the audience. What happens when fear does not appear, and control is no longer obvious? The tension reaches a point where silence feels unbearable. People expect shouting commands or emergency overrides. They brace for alarms, for movement, for proof that someone is still in charge. Then, the human speaks. Her voice is calm, unhurried, and clear enough to carry without effort. It does not rise or shake. It does not compete with fear. It simply exists. She asks if it was trained. The words land heavier than any warning. They cut through the room and disrupt every assumption holding the moment together. Some people turn toward her, startled, as if she has violated an unspoken rule. Others stare at the predator, waiting for a reaction that does not come. The handlers freeze. Their rehearsed responses have no place here. Training was discussed in reports and briefings, never as a question asked aloud in front of witnesses. The predator shifts its weight, not aggressively, not retreating. It listens. That realization unsettles everyone. Creatures like this were meant to be controlled, not consulted. The idea that it could understand intent rather than command cracks. Something open. The human continues to stand without changing her posture. She does not explain herself. She does not justify the question. She knows the power of letting others sit with discomfort behind her. Officials exchange glances. Some feel exposed. Others feel suddenly unsure of their authority, because the question implies responsibility. It implies history. It implies that what stands free is the result of human choices, not nature alone. The predator lifts its head slightly, its attention focused fully now. Not on the room, not on the weapons, on the human. Fear shifts, again, this time away from the creature toward the possibility that control was never as complete as promised. The audience senses it, a turning point they cannot name. The moment where the story stops being about danger and starts being about accountability. The human waits, allowing the weight of her question to do what force never could. The handlers fidget, as if the air itself has turned against them. They shuffle papers, check monitors, and glance at one another, seeking reassurance that does not exist. Their voices are muted behind hurried whispers. No one else can hear. The predator remains, still observing, not threatening, but present and alive. The human watches them calmly, her gaze steady, unblinking. She understands that authority is fragile when confronted by honesty. Every trained reaction falters under the weight of her simple question. It reveals the gaps between procedure and reality. The room feels smaller now. People pressed by their own expectations of control. Some glance at the predator, imagining orders could change its mind. Some glance at the human, wondering what knowledge she holds that they do know. Tension coils between them like a living thing. It twists the room into anticipation and doubt. Security measures feel ornamental, as if the walls themselves could no longer contain what has been unleashed. Everyone senses that authority no longer guarantees safety. The predator shifts slightly, its movement measured, not reckless. It tests the space the human occupies without leaving it vulnerable. Every muscle conveys awareness and restraint. It is not tamed by fear. It is aware of presence. The human does not flinch. She does not reach for weapons. Her posture radiates something stronger than courage, recognition, understanding, a strange familiarity that the crowd cannot comprehend. Whispers ripple outward, questions they dare not speak aloud. How can someone face such power and remain composed? How can a predator respect someone it barely knows? The handlers realize the truth of their position. Control has never been a matter of confinement or commands. It is something far subtler, something earned through observation, patience, and respect. The predator steps closer, just enough to bridge the distance. The room feels the shift like a tide. Moving silently, the human does not panic. She meets the creature halfway with nothing but her steady presence, and in that stillness, authority begins to redefine itself before the eyes of everyone present. The predator tilts its head, as if measuring the human before it. Muscles ripple beneath sleek fur or scaled hide, movements precise and deliberate. It does not attack, it does not roar, it simply considers. Every observer senses the intelligence behind the gaze, the awareness that stretches beyond instinct. The human remains calm, she does not step forward, she does not retreat. Her posture is open, unthreatening and patient. She lets the predator set the pace, letting it decide the terms of this encounter. Around them the crowd grows uneasy, some clutch at railings, others hide behind hands or shoulders. They are unprepared for the creature to hesitate, for its attention to rest on a single human. No one has rehearsed a moment like this, no one expected comprehension rather than aggression. The predator moves slowly, shifting weight from paw to claw or leg to leg. Its body language is careful and measured. It is testing boundaries, testing intent, testing whether the human will react with fear or command. She does not falter, she does not change expression, she only breathes and watches the handlers exchange frantic glances. They try to recall protocols, their voices falter. The realization settles in that control has passed into an unfamiliar domain. The apex predator is responding not to fear, not to orders, but to respect and patience. The human tilts her head slightly, as if acknowledging an answer unspoken. Her eyes hold calm reassurance. She does not need to speak. The predator recognizes the patience and stillness as a form of communication. The room feels suspended. Every heartbeat amplified, every exhale a wave across the crowd. People begin to see the creature differently, not as a weapon but as a being capable of choice. The predator inches closer, its presence commanding yet restrained. The human does not flinch. She meets its gaze without challenge, without submission, just presence. And in that suspended moment, the audience senses a fragile trust, forming a trust that no cage or command could ever force into existence. The atmosphere in the room has shifted imperceptibly but completely. The predator stands motionless for a moment, then slowly lowers its head closer to the human. Its breathing is steady, controlled, and deliberate. Every muscle is tense yet restrained. It is not preparing to attack, but engaging in a silent negotiation. The human holds her ground, her hands hang loosely at her sides, her eyes steady and clear. She does not speak or gesture, she simply exists in the space that has been opened between them. Her presence communicates something stronger than any command or weapon. Respect, recognition, and understanding. The crowd watches with bated breath. Every heartbeat echoes in ears unprepared for such intensity. Fear lingers, but it is no longer the dominant emotion. Awe begins to seep in. The realization dawns that the predator is not mindless. It is capable of discernment, capable of choice. The handlers inch forward hesitantly. They try to maintain authority, but it feels artificial now. Their training is insufficient against the dynamic unfolding before them. They realized that the apex predator was never fully controlled, only guided, tempered, and observed. Trust was the invisible tether. The predator steps closer still, each movement deliberate, avoiding suddenness. The human does not flinch, she does not react. The space between them becomes a quiet bridge. The room feels smaller, the tension sharper. It is a moment suspended in possibilities. Some observers whisper softly, realizing the lessons they had not expected to learn. Control is not domination, power is not fear. Even apex predators respond to patience and respect. The predator lowers its head, fully acknowledging the human as something other than a threat. It pauses and waits. The human nods subtly, almost imperceptibly, and the room collectively exhales. A fragile understanding has been established. A moment that will linger in the minds of all present. Trust can exist between beings. Even when the world expects violence, the predator does not move aggressively, it does not flee. It simply recognizes and acknowledges the presence of someone who does not fear it. The crowd begins to shift as the tension slowly transforms into something else. Fear does not disappear, but it softens into wonder and curiosity. People lean forward, catching glimpses of the predator in a new light. It is no longer just a creature to be feared, it is a being capable of response, thought, and awareness. The human stands at the center of this fragile balance. Her calm radiates outward, touching those around her. She does not command, she does not instruct, she simply exists as a mediator between worlds, a bridge between the apex predator and the audience, who expected chaos. Whispers spread through the room as understanding begins to grow. Some speak of ethics, some of responsibility, others of respect. The predator moves slowly, tracing the perimeter of its release space. It is aware of every eye watching, every hand raised. It moves with precision, yet gentleness. Nothing is wasted, nothing is careless. The handlers begin to relax slightly, though unease lingers. They observe more than control now. They see the predator for what it is, not for what it was trained to do. The human does not intervene. She does not guide. She allows the interaction to unfold naturally, trusting that presence and patience are stronger than fear and force. The room feels suspended in a shared revelation. The apex predator pauses near the human, its gaze steady and alert. It acknowledges her existence, not as prey, not as rival, but as a presence it can comprehend. The audience watches in quiet astonishment. Some take notes, some simply stare, unable to articulate the shift. They are witnessing no violence occurs, no alarms sound. The predator moves with awareness, not aggression. The human steps back slightly, allowing the creature to claim space without threat. By the end of the demonstration, the lesson is clear: control is not possession, power is not dominance, understanding and respect can tame even the most feared beings. The audience leaves with a sense of awe, and a question lingering in their minds: what does it truly mean to coexist with something that surpasses fear? The demonstration ends quietly, with no fanfare, no applause, just a heavy silence that fills the room. People begin to move slowly toward the exits, their minds still tangled in what they have witnessed. The predator retreats back toward the containment space, not hurried, not panicked. It moves with deliberate grace, as if it understands the lesson has been delivered. The human watches it go without fear, without relief. Her expression remains calm, composed. Steady observers exchange glances. Some speak softly to themselves, others remain silent. The magnitude of what they have seen settles in. They realize the apex predator was never meant to be conquered, only understood. The cages and commands were symbols of control, but the true power rested in patience, observation, and respect. The handlers follow cautiously, noting every movement. They carry the weight of realization that authority is fragile when faced with presence and awareness. Their rehearsed drills feel hollow compared to the natural negotiation they have witnessed. Some begin to question what training truly means. Some wonder if they have ever understood the creatures they have sought to control. The human steps away from the center, slowly, gracefully. She does not look back, she does not wave. Her calm confidence has shifted the room. Her quiet presence has rewritten the rules of engagement. She leaves without spectacle, without triumph. Her lesson is complete. The predator remains calm within its space. It does not charge, it does not panic. It simply exists, acknowledging the human and the room in its own way. The audience feels the shift in their perception of danger and power. They understand now that control is not taken, it is granted and earned through awareness and respect. The event closes not as a display of force, but as a quiet revelation. People leave changed, some shaken, some thoughtful, some inspired. The human and the predator have demonstrated that fear is not always the response. Trust, understanding, and calm can shape even the wildest of forces, and that lesson lingers long after the doors have closed.